Hello, Architectural Software 2 students. So today it's 6 something in the evening, but I'm going to be issuing your first assignment, which is called Structural Massing Model. So here's the deal. I will leave that over there. I don't want you to read through that just yet. We are going to model a building together in Revit. Okay, and in years past, I've used the textbook, which has a nice office design in it, but the design, it has a nice project in it, but the design is just, it's not very good. So basically, I was thinking, why don't we try something new this semester and I'll let you guys sort of design your own architectural offices within reason. So I have some watch outs and some boundaries that I'm definitely going to be putting on you so that you guys just don't go bonkers with this thing and then not learn Revit because you're sort of spinning your wheels on the design. I definitely do not want that to happen. So we're going to start out by making a structural massing model. And basically, in a sense, I'm going to ask you to create some cubes in SketchUp and arrange them in such a way so that they create a form that is ideally pleasing to you. We'll then use that form as our sort of roadmap for Revit. So we're going to sort of play in SketchUp a little bit, get an idea of where we're headed for this architectural design office that we're going to create. And then once we have a nice spot, we're going to take that in the Revit. And then, of course, we can change it in Revit and we can manipulate it. But this will be our starting point. And I think it's restrictive enough that hopefully you won't be spinning your wheels or anything like that. So what I'd like you to do is go into SketchUp. Now, just a reminder, you have SketchUp through remote access if you go that direction. If you have SketchUp on your computer, great, you're good to go. I know a lot of you have gotten trained on it last semester, and for what I'm going to ask you to do, I know you can do it. For those that don't have training, you can kind of watch what I do here, but contact me and I can help you out. Okay, so here I am in SketchUp, and what I'd like you to do is pretty simple. I want you to make a 24 foot by 24 foot by 24 foot high cube. And then you're sort of going to take that cube, arrange it in such a way to make up a building. One cube will represent one structural bay in our building. So what exactly is a structural bay? If you had one cube, you could think of it as the four corners are four columns, and there's a beam running all around to each column. And that basically represents sort of a structure. And then I can take that and keep kind of going down the line to make a whole building full of columns. Okay, so let me just do that right here. We're going to sort of do that diagrammatically, but that's how you can think of it. That's what a structural bay is. That's what one of these cubes represent, and it'll be a perfect roadmap moving into Revit. So what I'm going to do in SketchUp here is just go up to the pencil tool. I'm just going to start right at the origin, and I'm just going to draw a line on the green axis, 24 feet, enter. I'm going to go move my mouse down the red axis, 24 feet, enter, back on the green, and back to where I started. Now I have a plane. I'm going to press P for push pull, and I'm going to move that plane and extrude it into a volume 24 feet high. There we go. We have one cube. Now what I'm going to do is grab everything associated with that cube. So I went up to my black arrow here and I just made one big selection. I'm going to right click on that cube and say make group. So now I have to actually double click in there to edit it, but it's kind of its own piece now. It's not going to stick to anything else. So now I can take this, go to my move tool, and I can use control. And if I hit control, you see the little plus that gets added to my crosshairs there. Now, when I click on a corner and move it to another corner, it makes a copy. Could do it again, makes another copy, do it again, makes another copy. So there I've made 4. So this is 24 times 4 feet long, 24 feet wide. I can grab all these and sort of copy them and make a structure out of them. So your structure does need to be 2 stories, but not any more than 2 stories. I don't want to get into any weeds on multiple levels, but let's just do at least 2 stories because we're going to need stairs in there because we're going to have a nice big section on vertical circulation. So we need to sort of arrange these like I might have here into some sort of pleasing arrangement. Now I've done a couple and I want to show you. If I zoom out, I'm just going to go over to these. Okay, so here's 3 examples that you can sort of ponder. A courtyard scheme here has a 2-story level kind of in the middle, surrounded by these like arms that reach out that are 1 story. A T-shaped structure that's sort of 2-story bar with this 1-story piercing through it. And just a linear hot dog, a linear structure right there. So just a block, right? So this looks kind of maybe uninspiring, but once this gets articulated in Revit, it might be actually pretty cool. So that would be a fun challenge too. So I will say you could arrange your 24-foot cubes into one of these arrangements if it appeals to you. That's fine. I'd like you to model it and extract some imagery to show me. I'll go through that in a second. But I just wanted to sort of give you some ideas. Now, in the project write-up, I say that this structure should be at least 15 to 20,000 square feet, somewhere in there. Doesn't have to be exact at all, and it won't be exact, but somewhere in there. So let me show you how to calculate square footage in SketchUp. Now, you could do it this way. I could double click on one of my cubes, select the top plane, and if I look up at my entity info over here, if you just have a plane selected, not any lines, it'll tell you the square footage of that. So it's 576. Now I could multiply all those by how many cubes I have and then multiply it times 2 for each level. That'd be one way to do it. Here's another way to do it. I'm just going to draw a rectangle over all of them right on this second level. And then I'm going to select that rectangle. I'm going to triple click on it and sort of move it off to the side. And now if I just select that surface right there, it says it's 6,912 square feet. So times 2, we're looking at a little like 14, somewhere in there. So this is almost 15. That'd be fine. I could add another set of 4 on the end of it and just make it a little longer. That would work. So that's an easy way to calculate the square footage. And I just want you to get in the ballpark, nothing exact. So I'm going to delete that. For something like this one, your bottom square footage would be different than the top square footage because you have to count this area and this area over here. So it's 2 kind of bars for each level, and then this area and this area. And then this one, it's the whole bottom level, right? And then the top level. So let me just show you on this one how you could do it. I could go to my pencil tool and kind of go through each one, going around this whole top of the first level here. Okay, so there's my first level, and I'm going to move that over there. So that square footage is 14,400, so almost 15,000. And then I'm going to add on to that. I hope this isn't too big, but whatever. Let's see. About 5,000. So that's about 20,000 square foot. This structure is about 20,000. So that works perfect. So I would use that method just to double check. So please try to get around that square footage. And just to let you know where we're headed, we're essentially going to be putting a column at each of these corners, at each of these bays, and we're going to sort of just put a crazy structural system in there. And then as we move forward in the project and develop our spaces, we can sort of delete columns or move things around to sort of accommodate for spaces once we figure out exactly where they're going to go. Because obviously we don't want a column that falls right in the middle of a room, but maybe some of our rooms are they fit more within the structural bay. Some may go around it. We'll see. We'll see where things land. So should be a good time. So let's talk about how do you export an image from SketchUp that's reasonable. Okay, so let's say you decided to do the T-shaped scheme, okay, or when you modeled it up, you're ready to export. Okay, so I'm going to hide these other models just for the time being. Okay, here we go. So let's think about this. So the best way, I want to basically showcase this model, right? I'm going to hide this too. So I want to do it in a pleasing angle. So it's not like something like, let's say something like this. Not really a bad view, but think about this. This whole space of your screen, that's essentially the page. Look how small this sits on the page. That's the first issue. The second issue is that this angle really doesn't show any of the volume of that structure. So we want to be able to showcase that volume and really see its three-dimensional form. So here's a good way to do it. Let's say this is the front of my structure. If I take an angle that's something like a 30 to 45 degree on the upper left side and a 30, 45 degree on the upper right side, that's a good place to start. Like if you look at this, I wouldn't want to do something like that because it hides the whole other side and I can't really get a sense that there's more to this building. But when I do this, I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of understand what's going on. Maybe something like this. Okay, but now it's still a little small in the white space of my screen. So I'm going to zoom in, kind of center that. That looks pretty good. Okay, now my shadows are turned on, and the way you do that is in your default tray over here. I'm just going to click on the shadows, and then this is your little button right here just to turn those on and off. So there, got my shadows on. I really like this view. I'm going to export it right now. So I'm going to go File, Export, 2D Graphic. I've already saved some to show you. And I'm going to name it according to the naming convention that I have on my instructions here. I'm going to call it Kevin Kinney. Structural massing underscore. So I did Kevin Kinney underscore structural massing underscore. And I'm going to call this one view 3 since I already have 2 views in here. Okay. And before I hit export, I'm going to click on options. This is probably the most important thing. Click on options. Now, right when you click on options and you click use, and when you come in there, use view size is probably checked. This is the pixel dimension of the monitor I'm working on. Okay, but I need something that is a high quality image that has good resolution, so I don't see any pixels in there. So I'm going to uncheck this, and I'm going to change the width to 3000. So that'll make sure that my image is 3000 pixels across, and then it'll just calculate whatever the height will naturally be with a 3000 pixel wide image. So this will produce a really nice, crisp, clean image. All right, so I'm going to hit OK here. Then I'm going to hit export. Now, before you hit export, though, make sure that it's saved where you want it. I know right where this is. This is the right location, so I'm cool with it. So I'm going to hit export. Okay, that image is exported. Now I'm going to do one from this side. This side's a little more difficult because we don't get the sun, that nice sun shadow there. Now I could play around with the shadows a little bit and get something like that, but I never really like casting shadows to the side that I'm looking at, but that's okay. In this case, we can do that. So since I already have that view of the other side, I'll just do something like this. Maybe zoom in a little. That looks nice and centered in my white space, and it looks like a good volumetric view of my structure. So I'm going to do File, Export, 2D Graphic. I'm going to go to Options. It should be the same as what you set on the first one, which it is. So I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm just going to go and click my last image there. So the naming convention comes right down, that I don't have to write it all again. And I'm just going to change the last 3 to a 4. And I'll hit Export. So that's what I would like you to do. I would like you to create a structure. Again, you can copy exactly what I have here if you'd like one of these. We want to make it 15 to 20,000 square feet. And then I want you to export 2 images from it and then load those and submit them on Teams to me by next week, Friday. Next week, during the week, we're going to jump into Revit. So we're going to sort of, we're already going to be moving. So, yeah, so that's it for assignment 1. I hope you have some fun with this. And just to touch on one last thing before we go, let me unhide everything on these 3 schemes. Just something to think about as you're modeling them. Think about and ask yourself, what would be cool to have for an architectural office? So in this case, I'm kind of thinking, oh, okay, people enter along this main cube, for lack of a better word, and they can maybe see outside of this beautiful courtyard, and then they travel down the arms of the courtyard to more private offices or conference rooms or something like that. So this one has a cool idea of embracing a space outside. That's kind of interesting. This one's interesting in that it embraces a space in the front and the back, and then it could potentially have an outdoor area on the roof over here. That's kind of cool. And this one is pretty simple, but I think the trick would be like, how can we do cool things inside this structure? And then maybe how can we design the landscape around it to do something cool out there? But that can all come later. But that's how I kind of want you to think about these forms as you build them. So I only need 1 form from you, at least 2 images. Does that sound good? Okay, so that is your assignment for this next coming week to kind of plug away at. Please chat me up with questions if anything I said here is not making any sense. All right, guys. Talk to you later.